Good afternoon. My name is Daniel, and I'm joined by my teammates Zahin and Luke. I'm currently a student at Swinburne University studying business IT, and I'm currently working in the Workday team.
I'm Zahin, and I'm currently working in the UCI project. Shout out to CX Search.
I'm Luke. I'm currently a comp sci student at Monash, and I have just finished my rotation in the Reconnect team.
So, this is our presentation for UX Week and our solution for adaptive product keywords. The problem that we have been given is that new starters are being chucked into branches with very little or no experience, and many of the experienced staff there do not have the capacity at the moment to be able to help these new starters that are starting out these branches, which ultimately leads to us struggling to retain these staff. The first part of our process was conducting the research. This allowed us to dive deeper into the problem and find out exactly what the real problem is with retaining our staff at Reece. Who are we researching? We're conducting interviews with branch staff, including new starters and experienced staff, as well as managers, including assistant managers and branch managers. What questions are we asking? We want to find out exactly what challenges new starters face when they get to the branch, as well as thoughts on their current training methods, including LXP. We also want them to describe their onboarding experience and tell us exactly what they went through and how they thought about it, as well as how long it takes to become confident in meeting customer needs, in terms of how many months they have to be at Reece. We also want to find out the interviewee's current experience level at Reece, so we can figure out exactly where they are in their process or how long they've been at Reece. What did we learn in this process of conducting our interviews? We learned that we have to ask open-ended questions so that our interviewees can elaborate further on what we have asked for them, and then we can also dive into following up on their statements, asking why, and trying to get to the problem of why we're not being able to retain new starters at Reece. We also want to avoid asking leading questions, and we also found that building rapport with the interviewee will help them feel a lot more comfortable in the interviewing process, as well as being human as possible and less robotic. Why are we doing the research? We want to find what challenges are most significant at Reece for our new starters. We also want to find what new starters struggle most commonly with, as well as uncover what branch managers struggle most with our new starters at Reece. We also want to bring light on if LXP is truly beneficial to new starters and how new starters are feeling with LXP, such as asking where they would rate on a scale of 1 to 5. We also want to find if the current training in place gives new starters the confidence when entering a branch to be able to meet customer needs, and discover how a new starter will benefit from any new system that is put into place. What did we expect? We first expected, before we conducted any interviews, that all answers will be very straightforward and to answer the question very directly. However, we got very elaborate answers, and the interviewees talked for a long time, and we were able to expand on what they were saying. We also expected new starters to be able to answer all questions that we were going to ask them. However, new starters struggled to answer some questions and gave irrelevant answers at times, such as one ASBA new starter stating that my greatest challenge is taking the bus early in the morning. We also expected managers to be less patient in interviews. However, we found that they were very patient and gave us plenty of time and information, which we were able to work with. Findings from our research. We found that our most common challenge for new starters was learning the plumbing terminology. On the other hand, for branch managers, the most common challenge for them with the new starters is being able to find the time to train the new starters. New starters would rate LXP at the moment about a 4 to 5 out of 5. 5 being really good and perfect, and 1 being not so great. So our new starters really thought the LXP system was useful. However, they struggled to find the time in the day to use the LXP system. Our interviewees range the time of being able to range the time the amount of time they need at race to be able to meet customer needs to work for about 3 to 6 months. Our new starters also initially lack the confidence to be able to serve customers when they first enter the branch. Branch staff and managers also feel very understaffed, which will make it feel very daunting for the new starters when they are first starting a race. Some staff and managers also prefer to be drivers at first, as they will be able to learn product terminology while being a driver, as well as learn how to assist customers and learn customer service when driving to sites. Zahin will now take us through synthesis.
Thank you, Daniel. As Daniel already said, we found out that we got a boatload of information from all of this research. What do we do with it? Well, what we did is that we did a process called affinity mapping, which lets us put up like bite-sized insights on small pieces of Post-it papers and put them up on a board. After we have them all in our view, we could just group them together in places of concern and problems that felt the most pressing. After being able to take a look at everything that seemed to be a concern, we were able to hone in on an important problem, what we thought was the most significant problem. Meet Barry. Barry is a new starter who is trying to serve customers, but he's struggling to meet customer needs because he doesn't understand all of this plumber slang and terminology that is being thrown around. This is leaving him feeling a lack of self-confidence. Now that we have this problem statement, we need to figure out how we were going to go about solving it. So for the ideation process, I will hand over to Luke.
Hi, I'll be talking a bit about how we went about generating ideas and then choosing an idea. So first thing we did to begin with our problem statement was to generate how might we sentences, which are sentences which start with how might we, and they allow us to help break down our problem statement and provide new perspectives and approaches and prompt ideas when we're brainstorming. A few of the how might we statements we came up with were: how might we ensure new starters feel confident serving customers despite not understanding plumber terminology? How might we remove the need for starters to understand plumber terminology in order to serve customers? And how might we ensure new starters understand plumber terminology so they feel confident serving customers? Using these three how might we statements, we got together with the other groups and we started brainstorming. We did some crazy eights. This is where we try to rapidly illustrate different ideas in a short time session. This helps to really give us a foundation for ideas, as well as collect a broad range of ideas from different people and to lower the chance we might have a missed opportunity. It also gets us to think critically about our own ideas, because it's very important to note that often the ideas that we come up with are biased in some way. So it's important to listen to the ideas of other people. From the results of that session, we came up with our idea to help solve the problem. And this is to allow for experienced branch staff to adapt the currently limited search keywords for product search in TRS or product query, as these may be preventing new starters from finding a product that the customer wants, since the customers can often have their own different slang terminology which they use. I'll be handing it back to Zahin to talk about the initial prototyping we had for this idea.
Thank you. So after we kind of had this idea of what we want to do, we got some markers, got some scissors, and we started making a paper prototype. A prototype that I will sort of walk you through, maybe just one user flow. Here we have the order page of NGP. This is what you see when a customer comes up to you and you want to take his order. In this scenario, we will say that a customer walks up and he asks for a bundle nut. This is a slang that our staff member has never heard of, and he does not know which product this concerns. He tries looking it up in the system, but is met with no results. Fortunately, one of his colleagues walked by and lets him know that if he searches for Flexi, the first product that shows up is what he is looking for. So he does that, and lo and behold, he has these products. But now that he knows that this slang that the customer is using is not in our system, he could add it. He clicks on the suggest slang button and is brought up with a new overlay where he's able to choose the product that is relevant and then input the slang, which he does and then submits. And he is provided with a success notification to let him know that his action has been completed. With our paper prototype done, we took them in our hands and headed down to a branch to sort of get our staff members to take a look through it, maybe get some usability testing in. So for our testing, our expectations were very high. We asked a few questions while we had a staff member sort of go through this same situation that I described. Like on a scale of 1 to 7, how easy was this feature to use? And we asked them, do you foresee any problems popping up with this feature? Now, I'll admit, very naively, we expected perfect results. We expected them to say that it was very easy to use and for them to claim that there were minor problems, if any at all. But reality is much more harsh. In practice, our solution was not feasible. It is not possible to expect staff to handle this almost side task while they are dealing with a customer, specifically when this customer could be in a hurry, or they could not be in the best of moods, or the staff is just not experienced enough. The order screen that we were putting our feature in was also getting more cluttered than the staff members really wanted it, and they felt uncomfortable with it. And we also found out that the inconsistencies in size measurements in some of the products were just as much of a problem as the terminology was. But not all was bad. We got some beautiful insights. We learned that even if the usage of this feature is short-term, most of the terminology inclusions would be completed in the first few months, and the benefit would be long-term. And we also found out that some of this slang usage is mostly done by the old guard, plumbers who have been working for a long time and are starting to retire. And finally, we realized that we could use this in tandem with the new branch fundamentals program, a 3-day training course that all new branch members would be expected to go through, because it would help reduce time spent on learning terminology. And after all of this insight and this responses, we came up with a new prototype, which Luke will run through.
So we used Figma to mock up our revised prototype, which starts similarly to the previous one. The idea with the revised prototype, based on our feedback from the usability testing, is that we don't necessarily want people to use it when they're dealing with customers. We want it to be something that experienced staff like branch managers or 2IC can use afterwards or for problems that they notice. So it's not as much of a problem to deal with when working with customers. This new revised prototype starts by clicking the current I next to searched products. Currently, this takes you to the Max page, but based on the feedback we got, it would be better if this took to a modal that's in the current page. This modal, which we've mocked up here, would also have the product specifications, which we haven't mocked because it's not part of our solution, but we have also included it since it's part of the modal. Here we can see the search keywords like you would in product query, except here we can actually have the option to add a keyword. This would only be available for experienced staff members like branch managers who have the permission to do this on NGP or on TRS2. If we click the add keyword, we can enter a new keyword here, and then we can submit it. If we deselect the input box, then it closes again. And after we submit it, we can see we have the keyword added to the list of keywords. So now next time when someone goes searching for a product with this particular slang or this particular shorthand in measurements, they can really get to the product really easily. Or they can undo if they make a mistake here. I'd like to thank you all for listening to the presentation. We're super grateful for taking the time out of your day to come here and listen to our ideas, and we're grateful for all the other IBL students for helping us come up with ideas and supporting us, and the UX team as a whole for setting this up for us. It's been really beneficial. Thanks.
We will be taking questions now if you have any.
One question about the interview process that you did. Would you conduct the interview process differently after learning about asking, getting some feedback and changing? What would be your approach? Would it be different, or would you go down the same path and collate the answers in the same way?
This is for the research part, yes?
Yes.
Probably more with the prototype. When you got the answers, you delivered the prototype and you worked with the customers on what they thought of the prototype and got some feedback. Would you have handled that differently, or you're pretty happy with the results of gaining the feedback and actioning it?
We were pretty happy with how it went. We had a specific structure in mind when we went into the usability testing with the prototype. But as soon as we started, it was very evident that the branch staff were not really happy with what we were proposing. So we kind of like put our structure aside and went with the flow, tried to figure out why they're not happy, sort of posed questions around it. And I feel like the insight we got was exactly what we wanted. And it will help us improve more. So if we do end up going back, we'll go with the same mindset in hand.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's very important to definitely be able to be flexible, not just have a strict list of questions we're going to go through. It's very important when you get feedback to sort of dig into that and figure out what exactly the customer wants to see and what's going to make what's having the biggest impact on them, and then trying to focus down on making sure that's the best it can be.
I agree.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
There's a no. Thank you very much for listening again.
Yep. Thank you very much.